go, O's! What's going on, Birdland? Baltimore Bops here, and welcome to the Baltimore Bops YouTube channel where we discuss all things Baltimore Orioles. I'm your host, Bops, and in this episode, unfortunately, we got to discuss the 7-6 loss to the Houston Astros. And, you know, this is one that really stings. Obviously, long story short, the Birds took a 6-3 lead into the top of the ninth. They got the best closer in baseball come in. You think that he's going to be able to handle business, but you also have the defending world champion Houston Astros in town, and they basically hit the go-ahead grand salami to give them a 7-6 lead, and the Birds could not short. The short version of the long story, if you will. But we'll go ahead and get into the box score. So, the Houston Astros finished with 7 runs on 10 hits, no errors. Baltimore finishes with 6 runs on 8 hits and no errors. Stanek for the Stros gets the win after pitching 1 inning, getting a K. Felix Bautista obviously gets the loss after he goes 2/3, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. And the Astros, Presley gets the save. Orioles at the plate. Adley Rutschman goes 1 for 3, 2 RBIs with a dinger. Ryan Mountcastle goes 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and also hit a home run. Anthony Santander goes 0 for. Austin Hayes goes 0 for. Gunnar Henderson goes 1 for 4. Jordan Westburg continues his hot past couple of weeks. He goes 2 for 4. Ramon Urias goes 1 for 3. Adam Frazier goes 0 for 1. Later in the game, pitch hitting for Ramon Urias. McCann goes 1 for 2. He also had another good day at the plate, 2 RBIs. O'Hearn went 0 for 1 and got called out on a ridiculous third strike that was clearly 2-3 inches off the plate in the bottom half of the ninth to end the baseball game. And Jorge Mateo went 1 for 3. And we can't move forward talking about the actual game before we talk about Grayson Rodriguez. Grayson, once again, goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, 2 walks, only 2 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. And he pitched well enough for the Baltimore Orioles to win the baseball game. I mean, you could even argue that he pitched exceptionally well against the defending world champions. And when he left the ball game, it was 6-2 Baltimore Orioles. You cannot ask for a better Game 1 start than what Grayson Rodriguez gave us. Bauman comes in, he pitches an inning. He does give up 1 earned run that made it 6-3 later in the game. Yennier Cano goes 1 inning, doesn't give up any runs. And then the Mountain comes in, and he takes the L. He goes 2/3, gives up 3 hits, 4 runs, and the 4 earned runs on the grand slam. He even throws 30 pitches. So, let's go to the play-by-play. So, top half of the first, the Astros aren't able to string anything together. Bottom half of the first, Rutschman has another terrific stinking at bat and works a walk off of Valdez. Well, Mountie comes up right after that. He has a good at bat himself, and he gets a hanging curveball that he punishes for 472 feet to deep center field. I think that was the longest home run that a Baltimore Oriole has hit this year. Just absolutely smoked it for a 2-0 Baltimore Orioles lead. Top half of the first, the Astros can't do anything again. Bottom half, Westburg grounds out to short. Urias triples the center when Tucker just completely misplays a ball out in right field. He looked uncomfortable defensively all stinking night. And then McCann grounds into a fielder's choice to the pitcher, scoring Ramon Urias when Valdez tried to come to the plate. Throw was a little bit off. Ramon did a great job of sliding to the outside and getting that foot down before he got tagged, making it 3-0 Baltimore Orioles. Then later, after Mateo grounds out to short and moves McCann over to second, Rutschman hits a stinking bomb over the left field wall, scoring McCann and making it 5-0 Orioles after 2. And the way that they were swinging the bats and manufacturing runs, man, I really thought that was not going to be the end of the offensive night because they looked real good against Valdez early. Top half of the third, the Astros are able to get 2 runs back. So it's 5-2, and we get to the bottom half of the fourth before we get any more offense. When Westberg hits into a ground rule double, skips over the fence, he's on second base. Urias grounds out to second and moves Westberg to third, and then McCann is able to hit a sac fly to center field, scoring Westberg, making it 6-2. Then we get to the top half of the sixth, where it's going to be G-Rod's last inning, and you really saw, him, for all intents and purposes, battle around a bunch of traffic. They let him stay out there and finish the inning, and I would say that he did really well considering, this is his third start back from coming up from AAA again after being sent out. So Diaz grounds out to third, Abreu grounds out to the pitcher, Pena reaches on an infield single to shortstop, Meyer singles to center, and then moves the Pena to third. So you got first and third, and then he ends up striking out Maldonado to preserve that 6-2 O's lead after 6. And, you can't ask him to do much more than that, man. You give up 2 runs in 6 innings, and you got a 4-run lead with one of the best bullpens in the American League. You think that you're going to be sitting pretty. Well, Baumann comes in and holds it down. He does what he's supposed to do. Top half of the 8th, though, Baumann does come back in, and he ushers a free pass to the first batter, which brings in Yennier Cano. So Yennier Cano strikes out Diaz, but Tucker did steal second on that strikeout. Abreu grounds out to second. Tucker moves to third, and then Pena ends up singling to left, scoring Tucker, making it 6-3. And that ended up actually being a big run because at that point, Danny Coulomb was up in the bullpen getting work. He was going to come in and finish that top half of the 9th. And because they scored that run, it made it a save situation, and Baltimore decided to bring out the Mountain. So the Mountain comes out, top half of the 9th. The Birds are up 6-3. And he walks Singleton, which there was some questionable pitches right there, but he didn't get a lot of calls. So he walks Singleton, and then Altuve hits one right off his hands out into shallow left, making it first and second with nobody out. Felix then strikes out Bregman before Alvarez singles to center, Altuve to second, and Singleton to third. And this is one of those spots where even though Jorge Mateo made a phenomenal play earlier in the baseball game, robbing the Stros of a home run by reaching over the center field wall, he did not read this top half of the 9th ball very well off the bat. And he kind of got turned around, and he made a last pitch effort to reach out for it, and he just didn't get there in time. So it was probably the longest single that you'll ever see because it was like 400 feet off the top of the wall. But as opposed to going halfway like the base runner should have, they went back to the bag. So, I don't know what was going on there, but it ends up being first, second, and third with 1 out on the longest single that you'll ever see. So that makes the bases juiced, and it sets up the high drama for Tucker, who he had to have fouled off 4 or 5 pitches from Felix that were a $101, 102. He just hung in there and hung in there and hung in there until it was 1 too many fastballs. And he got one down at the knees, and at that point he had timed it up, and he took it over the right center field wall for 403 feet, a stinking grand salami in the top half of the 9th to give the Stros a 1-run lead. Then Felix strikes out Diaz after that before Crable comes in and gets a 1-pitch pop out to get out of the 9th. So the damage had already been done. Grand slam, top half of the 9th. The Birds go in up 6-3. They leave the top half down 7-6, and they are unable to get anything done in the bottom half of the ninth. And, that's a tough loss because Baltimore was the better team for 8 innings. This is where you have the youth and the skill of Baltimore as opposed to, and I'm not saying the Houston Astros aren't a skilled team. They obviously are. They won the World Series last year. But this is where the youth goes against the experience, and you see the experience winning out so very often. It's the same thing when the young kids are at the Y, and they go in there and they go in there thinking they're going to handle business against the old heads with the the headband on, and they got the high socks and everything, and then they end up getting drubbed because you just can't beat that experience. The old heads, where they may be a little bit more brittle, not as fast anymore, they have the experience. When the young kids are, they're learning. They're learning how to put games away. They may start out fast, and then they have trouble putting the game away. And that's where the old heads come in and they handle business. So, as terrible as this loss is, it is inexcusable. It's one that you don't think is going to happen up 6-3 with the best closer in baseball come in, and then to work, basically the bases loaded, and then somebody come in and hit a grand slam against them. That's unfortunate. But the good news is that the Orioles will learn from this. This is just your perfect case in point of how you have to play until you get all 27 outs. And that's why the baseball game is 9 innings. And you can't let up. It doesn't matter who you have on the hill. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You got to get all 27 outs. And I think that they will learn from this, And the good thing that we can take away from it as Orioles fans is we competed. Remember, this team won the World Series last year, and we were there, and we were better than them for 8 innings with a rookie pitcher on the hill, and we still have a couple of guys that are out, so we don't even have, our best foot forward right now, if you will, and we were able to compete against the Houston Astros. Now, I am not one that takes solace in losing. But at the same time, there are lessons to be learned in life because especially the game of baseball, you can't win them all. You're not going to win them all. Sometimes you're going to lose. And the only thing you can do from that is learn. And this is a good lesson that the young Baltimore Orioles can learn from playing such a good team. So we'll see what the Birds can do tomorrow. 7:05. Stros still in Baltimore. Game 2. Christian Javier is going to take the hill for the Astros. He's 7-2 with a 4.39 ERA, a 1.21 WHIP, and he's going to be taking on newly acquired Orioles pitcher Jack Flaherty, who had a pretty good outing his last outing. And this is a good spot for Jack Flaherty. It's a big game 2. You want to take game 2 so that you can force that rubber match against a good team like the Astros. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out if these guys get down in the dumps or if they battle. And I think that what you're going to see is these kids are going to battle. I think we've seen that in the past. I think that's what we're going to see again. And you should expect another really good baseball game tomorrow. So we'll see what the Birds can do. 7:05 first pitch against the Houston Astros. This loss puts them at 70-43. Unfortunately, the Rays did win their baseball game, so now they are only 2 back in the AL East. So that just puts even more pressure on the Orioles to perform. One thing before I get out of here. Did anybody else? I'm sure they did. But did you guys hear the free Kevin Brown from all the Orioles fans in Camden Yards? I mean, that was pretty cool, man. And I really hope that John Angelos took the earplugs out of his ears and listened to that because, it really is a shame that guy got suspended for simply stating facts and to be treated like he was the only one that had anything to do with those talking points is just asinine. So I thought that was pretty funny. Free Kevin Brown, man. Let's stop playing games and just free Kevin Brown. Let him come back, man. Good night. That's where he needs to be, is calling Orioles baseball. Another interesting thing that I just thought about, and I don't know how this escaped me, is, Brandon Hyde getting tossed from the game when the Birds are up 6-2. I think they were up 6-2. They might have been up 5-2, but they got the lead, and they, the stinking first base umpire absolutely gave him. I mean, Brandon Hyde had already turned around and was walking back to the dugout when the guy decided to toss him, which was absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, you're up 5-2, bro. Like, I hated to see Brandon Hyde get tossed out of that game. Do I think that it necessarily had an impact on the outcome? No. I think that the Birds called a good game with him, on the bench. That's everything that happened is what Brandon Hyde would have done. I didn't see any crazy stinking, coaching decisions or anything like that. But I would have liked to see him stay in the game, up 5-2. So, but the Orioles fans enjoyed it. You could tell they enjoyed it. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Tough loss, 7-6. Birds go to 70-43. Still have a 2-game lead in the AL East. We'll see what they can do tomorrow, baby, when they take on the Stros at 7:05. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're watching. Keep supporting this stinking baseball team. We're going to be all right. We'll grow from it, and we'll see what Jack Flaherty can do on the hill for the Birds tomorrow. Birdland, I'm out. I'll catch you on the next one.